Bud, I kind of like, he convinces me that he's going to win the fight because he's such a believer in his own ability and he's very convincing. And then you see the presser yesterday and I thought Canelo looked really well. Do you know what I mean? Obviously he's a big lump.
Towards Crawford to win this fight.
Why is that? What changed?
Because I know Crawford, he's got the heart, he's got the speed, the skills, and he's gonna go out there. I was thinking he put up a good first 6 rounds, but then Canelo will start picking it up. But now I think Crawford will go for the. I think Crawford will get. I'm picking Crawford to win now.
I'm going with Terence Crawford. You know, big weight jump, dangerous fight, but somebody's got to prove to me that they can break Terence Crawford's will and that he can't figure it out against you. You know, it ain't no disrespect to Canelo, but I've said this the last couple of years. I'm not betting against Terence Crawford with nobody else.
The boxing world is buzzing with anticipation, and many believe Canelo Alvarez's era of dominance may be nearing its end. In the build-up to their showdown, analysts and former champions are increasingly throwing their support behind Terence "Bud" Crawford. Undefeated at 41-0, Crawford is stepping up 2 weight classes from welterweight to super middleweight, aiming to make history as the first male fighter of the 4-belt era to become undisputed in 3 divisions. Insiders point to Crawford's technical brilliance, ring IQ, and flawless record as a sharp contrast to Alvarez's slowing output and advancing age.
He only has the opportunity to win the belts. Saul only has an opportunity to defend them. Terence Crawford has an opportunity to be in a 5 division and the only person to win all 4 belts in 3 separate weight divisions. Why is Saul taking this fight? And I'm going to tell you why. Because there's some things in life more important than just the belts. And that 20-year career that Terence Crawford made, that all that he has, is very valuable. Very, very valuable. He had 1 foot out the game. And if he can be the man to defeat him, because remember, if Saul beats him, Terence Crawford was the first man to get all 4 belts in 2 separate weight divisions. Yes, I beat that champion. Yes, I beat the multiple division champion.
Even legends like Floyd Mayweather Jr. hail Crawford as the sport's pound-for-pound king, praising his adaptability and unmatched intelligence in the ring. Andre Ward echoes these sentiments, highlighting Crawford's precise timing and strategic mastery as weapons capable of dethroning Canelo. Former unified middleweight champion Kelly Pavlik has outlined
the opponents that he fought, right? And people say he fought this name and fought that name. Where did he fight that name when he fought him? He 32. He coming off 2 losses. He 35. Kovalev, when he fought Kovalev was cooked. He wasn't the crusher. He wasn't the undefeated guy. He had lost that. And I'm not knocking the hustle, but you lose me when you start saying I'm the best fighter in the world. Or you lose me when you feel like you don't have to fight the best, but then everybody else got to fight the best. Canelo is a really good fighter, man. But you don't really know how good you are until you fight the other best. Like even Dimitri Bivol, the dude you lost to. You got to give him credit for going up in weight, but I feel like he miscalculated though.
You got Bud Crawford and Canelo. They're slated to fight in September.
It's going to be an interesting fight. Honestly, it's kind of 50-50 in my opinion. Obviously, Canelo's got the weight and natural size advantage, but Bud's very
clear blueprint for Crawford. Apply relentless pressure early, target 3 of the first 4 rounds to disrupt Alvarez's rhythm, and chip away at his stamina. Pavlik notes that Alvarez often begins to fade around the 7th round once pushed out of his comfort zone. He also advises Crawford to frequently switch between orthodox and southpaw to keep the Mexican star unsettled and constantly adjusting. Even as far back as January 2024, 2-division world champion turned analyst Tim Bradley was vocal in his
early on, put Canelo behind, right? Even if it's 3 out of the first 4 rounds, because when Canelo has to fight, okay, when Canelo has to step it up, after 7 rounds, he starts to fade a little bit. We've seen that with Bivol. We've seen it in a lot of his fights with Triple G. You know, when Canelo could control the fight and the ring generalship, like, yeah, he could fight 12 rounds pretty good. But when Canelo gets pushed early on in the fight, he starts to fade muscle endurance-wise. So if I was Crawford, I would kind of stay in his ass a little bit on, you know, the early rounds and make him have to play catch-up in rounds 3, 4, 5. And then by round 7, that's where, you know, he...
Support for Crawford. He praised Bud's speed, power, timing, and adaptability, qualities he believes put Crawford among the greatest fighters of all time and give him every chance to topple Canelo. Bradley speaks with absolute confidence that Terence Crawford will prevail, even at super middleweight. He hints at knowing a mysterious secret that gives Crawford the edge, though he refuses to reveal it. For Bradley, this isn't mere speculation, it's conviction. He believes Crawford's adaptability and skill set will
It don't matter if Canelo is on that. He ain't beat no Terence Crawford. You heard it here first. Plus, I look at the performances of Canelo. I look at his last performances. I mean, they've been all right, you know. It ain't been like, you know, wow, you know, blew me away. So I'm not really worried about all of that. And the same thing goes with Crawford. I know he's with Snack, and I know some news came out this week and all of that, but I personally believe that Snack is clean. I think it's a conflict of interest, the fact that, hey, he knows how to beat the system, quote unquote, beat the karte, but at the same time, I think Snack, you got products going around the world, this and that. I mean, all these athletes are testing. They're not testing anything or positive by using Snack at all. So I think they're safe. There's no doubt about it. So with that being said, I'm not worried about that. As long as they testing, I'm good.
Canelo is so predictable, dude. You know a hook is coming. You know when the right hand is coming. You know he's going down to the body. He gives it away. There's a tail with him. There really is. And it's usually off the high guard. He comes in, he marches forward, then boom. Crawford's going to be able to see all of that. He's too knowledgeable inside the ring. His IQ is too high.
Canelo, making their fight a potential turning point in boxing history. Former two-division champion and respected analyst Sean Porter shares similar praise, highlighting Crawford's precision and versatility. Still, Porter voices one major concern: whether Crawford can withstand Canelo's power for a full 12 rounds. He notes that while Crawford has dealt with heavy punchers before, Canelo's relentless pressure, brutal left hook, and deceptive timing pose a different kind of danger. Porter adds that Crawford's key to victory lies in surviving the early rounds and capitalizing once Alvarez begins to slow down later in the fight. On All the Smoke, with Andre Ward, Stephen A. Smith makes a bold prediction of his own. Crawford.
I am concerned about him absorbing a Canelo punch, especially through the course of 12 rounds. We do know this about Canelo. He's going to slow down, you know, so I think if anything, Canelo would try to start fast and bang on him and break him down before he gets later, and he's still got that kind of steam. But, you know, there's so many components that make a champion. There's so many components that make a great, a legend. It's just so much to go into. It's a conversation that lasts an hour easily when we talk about all of the components that Terence Crawford has, all of the components that Canelo have, and how we find how they even out and who trumps one another, you know what I mean? We tried to do that with Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, and we see how that panned out, you know what I mean? So talk about conditioning. It ain't no secret. We all can look and say, yo, right around 9 rounds is when Canelo starts to really decline in his punch output. Statistically, look at it. His punch output just significantly dives. This fight, what we didn't see from Canelo, because he didn't have to do it, we didn't see him fight in spurts. He's going to fight in spurts against Terence Crawford.
That's right.
Terence is going to challenge him both offensively, defensively, and also not only challenge that, but challenge that gas tank.
That's very much. See, that's what I'm saying. And you don't have to question Crawford.
By decision. While he respects Canelo's greatness and knockout power, Smith argues that Crawford's speed, movement, sharp jab, and stance-switching ability will allow him to outbox the Mexican superstar over 12 rounds. For Smith, the true path to victory is using superior ring IQ and agility, not raw power. Also lends his voice, recalling his 2019 bout with Crawford. He describes Bud's boxing IQ, footwork, and elusiveness as nearly untouchable, noting that Crawford was far harder to hit than Canelo.
Reaction would be to say that I think that Crawford would be the superior boxer, as great as Canelo is, as seasoned as he is, with 65 fights, if I recall, on his record. I think boxing-wise, he's going to give Canelo fits. I don't believe he can hurt Canelo. I just believe that Crawford hasn't been in the ring with anybody this powerful. Again, Crawford is the superior boxer. But if he can't hurt Canelo, he can't keep him off of him. He says it's a legacy fight, and he believes he can do the same, and he wants to do the same against a fighter the caliber of Canelo Alvarez, which is why we haven't really seen him in the ring against anybody else. Fortunately, that's the business of boxing. He's a victim of it, not a villain.
You got a love for boxing.
Yes, love
Who
boxing.
gonna win the fight, man? That's coming up, the biggest
Crawford.
fight in boxing.
Crawford.
Huh?
Crawford. I'm not hesitating. Crawford. I'm not even hesitating. Crawford.
You gonna stand on that all the way to September 13th?
I love Canelo. Crawford will beat Canelo. Crawford will beat Canelo by decision. I can't see anybody knocking out Canelo Alvarez. But I do believe that if you can box and you can move, that you can beat Canelo. You can outpoint him.
That's right.
When I think about Canelo, one of the things that I don't like about Canelo, despite his greatness, and a neck as wide as Broadway for crying out loud.
Right.
It's like almost every shot has to be a power shot.
It's a power shot, yeah.
That's not beating Crawford. I will confess, I think Gervonta Davis's trainer, Cal, I think he said this. He said Crawford could find himself in trouble if he decides to engage with Canelo, because Canelo is the naturally bigger, stronger fighter. And I don't care that Crawford's gotten bigger, and I don't care that Crawford's gonna go in there just as big as Canelo. Canelo is accustomed to fighting at the weight, and Crawford is not. And Canelo is a genius in this regard. You don't see him show up for fights not ready. He's always ready.
Always prepared.
He's always ready.
gotta give
He's
him that.
always prepared. So I think he's the slower fighter, though. And I think that Crawford is brilliant as a boxer. And I think that between switching to conventional and southpaw, using his jab and movement, I think that Crawford is going to outpoint.
In Khan's eyes, this makes the matchup dangerously one-sided. Even Oscar De La Hoya, another legend of the sport, throws his weight behind Crawford. Admiring Bud's intelligence and agility, he likens Crawford's movement to Bruce Lee and firmly sides with him to dethrone Canelo. Collectively, many experts view Terence Crawford as the superior technical force heading into his clash with Canelo Alvarez. On the Joe Rogan Experience, legendary commentator Jim Lampley delivered a breakdown.
Crawford could beat him because Crawford is a big 147 fighter and is strong as well, which a lot of people don't give him the credit for. I think that fight, if it does happen, as long as Crawford stays away and just boxes and be smart, he can win that fight. I think Crawford's a better fighter than Charlo. And he's a smart fighter as well. He switches and everything, so that would be a very good fight.
You fought them both. Like, what are the differences between them?
Canelo's strong and he's easily hit. Very easily hit, very easily. Compared to when I fought against Crawford, I couldn't hit clean. They both hit hard because, and you could see the strength when I was fighting against Crawford. He is very strong as well. So, look, yeah, but why does he need to give that much away? He's pound for pound number.
Worthy of ringside commentary. He spotlighted Canelo's near unbreakable chin, crediting it not just to toughness, but to the lower body strength built through years of equestrian training. At the same time, Lampley praised
Canelo Crawford. Who wins and why?
Well, look, I mean, I've been in this game for such a long time, and I like to say I'm a historian. There's never been a good little man that beats a good big man. It hasn't happened. I mean, the exception is maybe Pacquiao beating me, but that situation, that scenario was like totally different. I was at the end of my career, and I was a shot fighter, and Pacquiao was coming up and he beat me. But a good little man, which would be Crawford, just has never beat a good big man, which would be Canelo. In the history of the sport, it just now if Crawford can
Crawford as a modern-day Sugar Ray Robinson, admiring his balance, power, and all-around mastery. He framed the fight as a monumental chess match, pitting Canelo's physical resilience against Crawford's refined skill set, a defining moment for the sport. Undefeated light heavyweight David Benavidez offered his own analysis, acknowledging Crawford's elite boxing IQ and adaptability, even calling him a legitimate knockout threat. Still, he cautioned that moving up 2 weight classes is no small task. While Crawford handled power at 154, Canelo's physical strength at 168 presents a different challenge altogether. Trainer Derek
train skills. Like George St. Pierre did that for a certain period of his career.
I wonder if there's anybody left in boxing who trains just using the gym skills. There were a lot of them when I was first involved in the sport who would never have touched a weight.
Right.
You know, they
they
subscribed totally to the notion that that was negative.
Right. And the worst case, I mean, they definitely did calisthenics, but that was it. It was just body weight exercises, you know, which brings us to Crawford, which I think is really interesting. The Crawford-Canelo fight.
Beyond interesting. Fascinating.
Fascinating. Because how does Crawford compete with that size? And, you know, we have to recognize, okay, well, when Canelo fought Floyd, it was 152 pounds, right?